Tonight, Harry and Meghan pursued by the paparazzi and their claims of a near catastrophic car chase. Conflicting accounts of a nerve-wracking ride in Midtown Manhattan.
We got blocked by a garbage truck, and all of a sudden, paparazzis came and started taking pictures.
A haunting reminder of the crash that killed Princess Diana.
His fear of history repeating itself.
A suspected mob hit in Montreal.
We know that it's connected to organized crime.
The daylight murder of a mafia leader's daughter-in-law. Plus, parts of northern Italy underwater. The devastating impact of deadly floods and the race to rescue thousands.
CTV National News with Omar Sachedina. Reporting tonight, Sandy Ronaldo.
Good evening. There are questions tonight surrounding an encounter between Prince Harry, his wife Meghan, and the paparazzi in the streets of New York. What the couple's spokesperson called a near catastrophic car chase was described by police sources as a bit of a chaotic scene. CTV's Joy Malbon now with what we know about a situation evoking memories of Harry's mother and the fear of history repeating.
Meghan, we love you!
In a world ever hungry for celebrity news, there were plenty of pictures of Prince Harry and Meghan leaving a New York award ceremony where the Duchess was honored. But a spokesperson says the couple and Meghan's mother were terrorized in a dangerous 2-hour, near-catastrophic car chase at the hands of a ring of highly aggressive paparazzi. They were reportedly swarmed by photographers in cars, motorbikes, and scooters, driving on the sidewalks and running red lights. New York police called the incident challenging, but said there were no collisions, injuries, or arrests made. And the mayor seemed to question the couple's version of events.
I would find it hard to believe that there was a 2-hour high-speed chase. But if it's 10 minutes, a 10-minute chase is extremely dangerous in New York City.
Harry has long blamed the paparazzi for the death of his mother, Princess Diana, who died after a high-speed car chase in Paris nearly 26 years ago. And in a Netflix special, Harry spoke about fears for his family.
I was terrified. I didn't want history to repeat itself.
Harry's bitter battles with the press are no secret, and he's suing the British government over security arrangements in the UK.
In a weird sort of way, they've gone from the frying pan into the fire in the U.S. In a sense, they are less safe in the U.S. because we have freedom of the press.
After last night's pursuit, the couple eventually made their getaway in a taxi. The driver said he never felt in danger.
Oh, I don't think that's true. I think that's all, exaggerated and stuff. New York City is the safest place to be.
New York police say they will review security camera video to see if they can identify anyone. As for Harry's royal family, Buckingham Palace says they will not be issuing a statement. Sandy?
All right, Joy, thank you. Montreal police are investigating whether a brazen daytime killing was a targeted attack. The victim was the daughter-in-law of a high-profile mobster. As CTV's Quebec Bureau Chief Geneviève Beauchemin reports, it could mark the first mafia hit on a woman in the city's history.
The slang and all the hallmarks of a mob hit. Bullets sprayed at the victim's car in a parking lot in broad daylight.
There are major crimes that are now on the scene to investigate.
But just who the victim is could mark a new brutal chapter in the history of the Montreal underworld.
I'm going to be honest with you. As a chief, I was like, oh, wait a minute. Did we cross the line? Are we going somewhere else now?
39-year-old Claudia Iacono was shot just outside her beauty salon and spa.
You guys have to come. It's from 20 to 50% off.
A popular businesswoman, mother of two, she was also the daughter-in-law of notorious mafioso Moreno Gallo. Convicted of killing a drug dealer in the 1970s, he was once part of the inner circle of the Rizzuto clan that ruled Montreal. But Moreno is reputed to have switched allegiance to a rival gang. A decade ago, during a busy period of settling of accounts, Moreno was assassinated in Mexico in an Italian restaurant. Over the past few months, control over Montreal's underworld seems to have heated up. Police are investigating a string of arsons. And in March, a shooter attempted to kill alleged mafia leader Leonardo Rizzuto. But if Iacono was targeted because she was married to Moreno's son, because of her ties to the Gallo family, that would break a long-standing unwritten rule, the Mafia Code of Honor, to never touch the wives and children if they're not involved in the family business.
If it's this what happened, it will be the first time in the history of the criminal history of Quebec and in the criminal history of the Montreal Mafia.
And that has many questioning whether there could be retaliation, and that has police bracing for further escalation and tensions. But police say they don't know what led to this shooting, why she may have been targeted. Their investigation is just beginning. Geneviève Beauchemin, CTV News, Montreal.
Also beginning the investigation into the shooting death of a Canadian in Mexico. The body of 27-year-old Victor Masson was discovered inside a car in Puerto Escondido, as confirmed today by his Quebec family. Masson is the second foreign tourist to be killed in the same region in less than a week. Well, smoky conditions persisted through much of Alberta today, with the fire danger still considered high to extreme in the north. And for the first time, injuries were reported. Here's CTV's Alberta Bureau Chief Bill Fortier.
As an out-of-control wildfire threatens the community of Swan Hills, the town's residents are now among 12,000 Albertans taking refuge in neighboring communities.
This is Callie.
Rose Godfrey got out with her dogs. They're all sleeping in her truck until she learns the fate of her home.
If it was the worst case scenario, then all I have is what is in the truck.
The same fire is threatening the East Prairie Métis settlement. Today, confirmation that a firefighter was seriously injured while trying to protect properties there. According to an online fundraiser, part of a tree fell on him, leaving him in a coma in hospital.
News like this is felt by every firefighter, and our hearts sincerely go out to his family. 2
more firefighters were hurt in the fight to save Drayton Valley. Their injuries not as serious.
As far as I know, they're doing fine. They are healing now.
And today, a closer look at how narrowly that battle was won. 5 homes destroyed on the edge of town. The rest of the community spared.
The danger of this fire was extreme. So getting, as you guys seen, right up to Drayton.
And while RCMP say social media reports of looting in evacuated communities were exaggerated, police have received more than 24 reports of breaking and entering and trespassing and made 12 arrests.
A number of priority offenders from different areas have been taken into custody or removed from communities.
Unequivocally, there has not been widespread looting.
What is widespread is smoke. This map showing just how far it's reaching. Health officials are sending out a warning to people with medical issues.
Hard to avoid when it's surrounding us, but again, trying to stay indoors, making sure the windows are closed, that there's not direct airflow from outside to inside without the filtration.
Firefighters got a bit of a break today with light winds and cooler temperatures, but hotter, drier weather is on the way heading into the weekend, so crews are bracing for more battles. Bill Fortier, CTV News, Edmonton.
Now, shifting winds brought some relief to residents of Fort St. John, British Columbia, allowing the city to rescind an evacuation alert.
Fort St. John can feel more confident as to what their safety and security is.
Although a change in wind direction has pushed flames away from the city, the Stoddart Creek wildfire is still considered a threat.
It is still classified as out of control.
And some relief in northern Saskatchewan. Hundreds trapped by dangerous conditions in Isle-à-la-Crosse were finally able to get out safely. The threat in Italy today, not fire, but rain. Thousands in the north have been told to head to higher ground after days of heavy downpours caused dozens of swollen rivers to overflow. At least 8 people are dead. CTV's chief international correspondent, Paul Workman, reports.
All 21 rivers in this region of northern Italy broke through their banks, creating a vast, waist-deep floodplain with entire towns submerged. And a scramble underway to rescue people trapped and at risk of drowning, especially the elderly living alone. Last summer, there was a terrible drought here. Half a year later, a springtime of devastation in a climate that seems to go from bad to bad. For the stranded couple in this house, the only way to escape was through a skylight in their rooftop. Plucked to safety in a dramatic rescue operation by a Coast Guard helicopter crew.
Sono 24 I comuni.
24 municipalities have been flooded, said the Civil Protection Minister. Some areas got 500 millimeters of rain. A bridge connecting 4 lanes of traffic over the Idice River disappeared overnight. And this weekend's Formula One Emilia-Romagna Grand Prix has been declared a washout for safety reasons. As a UN agency warned there is no going back to the good old days of predictable weather, forecasting that within a few years, the Earth will almost certainly breach the warming threshold of 1.5 degrees Celsius.
It's a conclusion that we haven't been able to limit the warming so far, and we are still moving in the wrong direction.
Italy is considered especially vulnerable to the dry and wet extremes of climate change. Last year's drought meant this year's spring runoff wasn't as easily absorbed, and that's what the country is suffering through now. The UN weather forecaster said the planet is likely heading into uncharted warming territory very soon, with more years of record-breaking temperatures ahead, Sandy.
All right, Paul, thank you. The humanitarian crisis in Sudan is growing more dire. Today, the UN launched an international appeal for more than $4 billion in badly needed aid.
Today, 25 million people, more than half the population of Sudan, need humanitarian aid and protection. This is the highest number we have ever seen in the country.
Fighting between rival military factions has displaced nearly 1 million people, with nearly a quarter fleeing to neighboring countries. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau and his South Korean counterpart wrapped up talks today on strengthening economic and cultural ties. The two also signed a deal on critical minerals. CTV's senior political correspondent Glenn McGregor is in Seoul.
Canada's historical ties with South Korea are the backdrop for a visit that is largely a sales call.
So we're always looking to do more with you. You know, there's opportunities right now where Canada is a strong, stable, reliable partner to many, many friends around the world.
Speaking in the National Assembly, Justin Trudeau cited Canada's role in the Korean War and his father's government opening Canada's first embassy here 60 years ago.
I'm here to tell you that it's no longer enough to be friends. We need to be the best of friends.
While his government promotes Canada as an alternative source for energy as South Korea turns away from Russia.
They understand that Canada is part of I would say, Korea's future in terms of resiliency. And therefore, that opens up a lot of opportunities.
South Korea is already involved in the project that will soon begin shipping liquefied natural gas from a port in British Columbia to Asia. And it's eager to source electric vehicle batteries for its auto sector, signing a memo of understanding on developing trade in critical minerals. Trudeau met with Korean industrial leaders to push Canada as an investment destination. But the sales pitch is dampened by the shutdown of construction on an electric vehicle battery plant in Windsor, Ontario, by South Korea's LG Energy Solution and auto giant Stellantis over subsidies. Today, the companies asked the Canadian government keep its commitments in relation to what was agreed last February. There was hope this trip could help end the stalemate, but Trudeau would say little about it.
Canada has been successfully delivering great jobs for the middle class across the country through investments by partners from around the world. We will continue to do that.
The leaders also discussed increasing military aggression by North Korea and by China, which will be a key topic when Trudeau travels to Japan for the G7 summit later this week. Sandy.
Glenn, thank you. And traveling for those who fly WestJet may be difficult later this week because the company and the union representing nearly 1,900 pilots are still far apart in negotiations.
There are limits to what we can do, but we are valuing what our pilots do.
The company issued a lockout notice after the pilots said they would walk off the job Friday of the May long weekend.
In such a situation, you should usually plan for the worst and then hope for the best.
A strike would ground hundreds of WestJet and Swoop flights. The deadlock has already caused a drop in bookings. Coming up, lost and found.
All it takes is one person to spot that missing child.
The extraordinary end of a 6-year search, thanks in part to a Netflix series.
It's just so impressive when you walk in.
A legendary Canadian copper mill celebrates a major milestone. She's back home again. 6 years after a young girl was allegedly abducted by her mother, the teenager has been found thanks in part to a Netflix true crime show. CTV's Heather Butts reports.
Hi, this is Kayla here.
Kayla Unbehan was just 9 years old when police say she was abducted in Illinois by her mother, Heather, who did not have legal custody. 6 years later, it was a crucial tip from a store employee in Asheville, North Carolina, that has reunited the now 15-year-old with her family. The pair's photo was shown briefly on the Netflix documentary Unsolved Mysteries. Authorities say the teenage employee, who also had a personal connection with Kayla, recognized her from the show and alerted her manager, who contacted police.
She looked relatively healthy, didn't appear to be any type of physical trauma.
Kayla's father, Ryan Iskirka, had been granted full custody in 2017 when he says she was kidnapped. The reunion follows years of desperate pleas from Iskirka. In a statement, he says, "I'm overjoyed that Kayla is home safe. We ask for privacy as we get to know each other again and navigate this new beginning." The break in the case came with a new Unsolved Mysteries episode centered on parental abductions. Kayla was featured near the end in a digitally age-progressed image.
And that's why we never want to stop telling the stories of our missing children, no matter how long it's been. The media is so important in telling these stories.
Callahan Walsh is with the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. He says the cultural obsession with true crime television has a major impact in solving cases.
It just shows the true power of the public. You shine a white-hot spotlight on these cases. They are the eyes and ears and the boots on the ground that can absolutely help change the course of an investigation.
Kayla is said to be in good condition, though experts say the reunification process can sometimes be complicated. Her mother has been charged with kidnapping and is due in court in July. Heather Butts, CTV News, Toronto.
A guilty verdict was handed down in New York State today in the 2018 limousine crash that killed 20 people. The company's service manager, Naaman Hussain, was convicted on 20 counts of manslaughter. The stretch-style SUV limo went off the road and crashed into a parked car when the brakes failed. 17 passengers, the driver, and 2 bystanders died. Hussain, who will be sentenced in 2 weeks, is facing a penalty of up to 15 years in prison. And former French President Nicolas Sarkozy has lost his appeal against a 2021 conviction for corruption and influence peddling. A Paris court upheld the 68-year-old's 1-year prison sentence for bribing a judge, but ruled Sarkozy could serve his time at home wearing an ankle bracelet. Lawyers for the one-term Conservative ex-president claim he's innocent and will file an appeal. Still ahead, the not-so-little elephant in the room. Splish splash, she was taking a bath. Canadian astronaut Jeremy Hansen and the rest of the Artemis II crew discussed their upcoming mission around the moon at the Canadian Embassy in Washington tonight. The crew revealed as a rookie, Hansen's sense of humor will help.
I think he's going to take all of our pranks really well, since we, having gone to space before, we might be pulling a few of those on you, buddy.
Hansen says the reaction from Canadians has been inspiring.
It is important for me to see Canadians take ownership of their wins. And I often feel like as Canadians, we sell ourselves a little bit short. We maybe wouldn't see ourselves as part of a moonshot. And that's just couldn't be further from the truth.
Artemis II will be the first crewed moon mission in more than 50 years. A team of scientists is revealing images of the Titanic in a way never been done before. They created an exact digital replica of the wreck in what's being described as the largest underwater scanning project in history. It shows the Titanic broken in two, nearly 4,000 meters below the surface, with such fine detail, researchers could even make out the serial number on the propeller. And nothing is cuter than babies or baby animals at play. Well, a 22-month-old elephant named Suni showed off at bath time. The 400-kilogram African elephant who got squeaky clean in her little pool had a rough start health-wise, but is doing well now. Suni was born at the Pittsburgh Zoo, one of the top conservation centers in North America, with a mandate of protecting endangered animals. After the break, National Historic Treasure, a century-old and shaped by those who lived and labored there. Along the scenic Sea to Sky Highway in BC is a sight you can't miss, but one that many drive by. CTV's BC Bureau Chief Melanie Nagy reports inside there's a hidden history that goes back a century.
Sitting on a slope, surrounded by BC's beauty, is a towering structure steeped in 100 years of history. It's called Mill Number 3. And for decades, it was one of the world's largest producers of copper, which was dug out from the nearby Britannia mine.
Try to imagine what it would have been like.
Laura Minta Holland oversees the site, which is now a museum.
This gravity-fed concentrator. It's just so impressive when you walk in.
The massive building was built in 1923 after two previous facilities burned down.
Here we have one of the old ball mills.
The mill was known for its innovative copper collecting techniques. It also employed thousands of workers.
The cost for the building was roughly $1.3 million for its time.
One thing the mill didn't have was an elevator, so workers had to climb nearly 400 stairs one way. Alongside the mill were two company towns. Despite only being accessible by boat until the railway was built, the communities thrived.
This is my dad at the mill.
Frances McKilligan was born steps away from Mill Number 3.
I spent from 1938 to 1955 here. It was wonderful and it was home.
McKilligan says life outside the mill was never dull thanks to all the amenities.
There was a gymnasium, there was a swimming pool, there was badminton, there was tennis.
The 85-year-old also says the community was tight-knit.
And if you misbehaved, somebody would mention something to your parents.
After years of dwindling revenue, the mill shut down in 1974. 13 years later, it was designated a National Historic Site.
So it really is a testament to the ingenuity of people of that time.
Resourceful resilience, spanning an entire century. Melanie Nagy, CTV News, Vancouver.
And that's our newscast for this Wednesday. Thank you for sharing your time with us. I'm Sandy Ronaldo for Omar and all of us at CTV National News. Good night until tomorrow.